and welcome to Hack It, a new series, a new location. We're in our newest baby, Jugad by Foodhak, a restaurant in Camden. Today, I'm joined with Shivani, the lovely Shivani, and I have a feeling today's episode is going to be a really interesting one, a really helpful one, even for me. She's the founder of a Millennial Mind, this amazing podcast that she started 4 years ago, where she left her stable, cushiony, comfort zone of a job and delved into, a new world.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that. We're going to start with your story. Shivani, tell everybody who you are.
That was a great intro.
Thank you. For someone who comes so unprepared to these podcasts.
So, where do you want to start?
4 years ago, or 5 years ago,
Okay.
what were you doing and what made you do what you're doing today?
I think I've always been somebody who has liked to question everything. You know, you wouldn't meet me and think I'm like a chill person. You would meet me and feel like I have a lot of energy. I'm very curious. I ask why to everything. And when I was younger, I was the same. And 5 years ago, I just come out of a relationship. I was going through a really tough time, mentally. Growing up, we're taught to literally just think about our relationship and our jobs. And you think, if I have those two things, I'll be happy. And it's not true. There's so much other stuff we need to think about. And so I was in this kind of like self-development discovery phase of my life where I was reading all these books, I was listening to all these podcasts. And often, and like this still happens now, whenever I'm listening to a podcast or whenever I'm reading a book, I think of my own idea. Something will come to me. I'll have my own reflection. I'll have my own thought. And that kept happening to me. And what I would do was then go to other people with those thoughts and have conversations around them. And so I was the kind of person that was like at your party or in a restaurant, like having a very deep one-on-one conversation with you. I was never the kind of like surface level person to have a conversation with. And so I just used to always look at podcasts and think, I want to be on one day. I want to do one day. But I never thought what, right? Because at the time, you didn't have podcasts like this in a restaurant with a camera. You couldn't do that. You had to have a studio. You had to have a production. You have to have like 19 cameras on you. You had to have the lights and the sound equipment and the engineers. And so I just never thought it was possible until I met my mum's cousin. And one day I was shadowing her and she was literally doing this, but with her and a mic in a meeting room. And I looked at her and I thought, well, if she's doing a podcast doing that, I can do that too. And this was in New York. So I'd come back to the UK. I decided I was going to do a podcast. I sat on the episode for 6 months, though. Like, I never felt confident enough to release it. And then it was this guy who said to me, you said you were going to do a podcast. I thought you were going to do it. And I thought, you know what? Screw you. I'm going to do it. And so I did it. And then ever since then, I love it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So the podcast is a Millennial Mind.
Yeah.
From what I understand, it's all about breaking the rules and making your own. So tell us a little bit more about that.
I believe that we are born in this life and all of us have very different experiences based on what we're told, what we experience, what's said to us, the environment, what we take from things. And so often we all conform to one narrative. Why is it so many of us believe in one narrative? Oh, if you're past 30 and you're not married, there must be something wrong with you. Oh, if you don't want to have a big wedding, you're cheap. Oh, if you have a small diamond on your hand, your husband doesn't love you enough. These are all ideas that we are told and taught. And I just found myself constantly challenging those, and that's what I aim to do with the podcast as well, is like, how do we reframe our perspective? How do we learn new things? How do we change the way in which we've thought about something to grow and be better? And so it's very much focused on that.
It's amazing. I think that's so cool because I feel that there is a big difference between our parents' generation, the way they think, and between this generation.
Right.
Like, even if you just look at women, the role of women in society, what's expected of them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, look at different cultures. You will find in many cultures, back in the day in our parents' generation, women were expected to be the homemakers.
Right.
And men were supposed to be the bread earners.
Right.
In many cultures.
100%.
Not just Indian culture.
Of course, massively, yeah.
But I think today I'm finding more and more men, in this category who don't want a woman who just stays at home.
Yes.
Some men still do.
Right.
But there isn't one size fit all. There isn't one rule that applies to all. Like, you're not a bad mom if you're a working mom.
No.
You're not an absent wife if you're a working,
right,
wife. And I think people like you, who are coming out and building a platform to talk about it, I think that's really helpful
Right.
in like just level setting and creating a little bit of balance in this ecosystem between males and females, right?
But
Like
it's
you
really-
do you. You could be a
Right.
male or a female.
For sure.
You could be a homemaker if you wanted to be, but there
Right.
shouldn't be one rule that applies to everybody.
I think it's like, it's really interesting. You just said you're not a bad mum if you're not at home, right? I have a very different belief.
Right.
I remember when I used to work at Eon, it's an energy company, and I would look at my manager and she would be talking. And I remember looking at her and thinking, that's someone's mum. How cool is that? That she's someone's mum and she's so inspiring and she's leading all these people. And I remember thinking, like, I want to be like that. But someone else could look at that and think she's not at home with her kids. And it's about bringing those conversations to light so that there are people at home who question that, right? If you're sitting at home thinking that person's a bad mum, having this perspective of someone that you find really inspiring, it might change your perception.
I agree.
Same if you're a homemaker and someone has told you your whole life that you're worth nothing, you're useless, that's why you're at home, because you've got no talent. And you hear the other perspective of someone saying how amazing it is that you have that privilege of being at home, how much of a caring wife you are, how your husband would not be able to run his businesses or do his job if it wasn't for you. In fact, you are the sole reason why someone is able to do what they do. Doesn't that shift your perspective on your value and your worth?
Yeah.
And that's the importance of seeing a different perspective.
I agree. I agree.
It's seeing these different narratives. And whatever narrative is put on you is the one that you will see. So if you're able to seek another one, you're able to broaden your perspective.
I completely agree. And you know what the worst part is? If you don't get that, like if that homemaker doesn't get that other perspective, which is how amazing are you that because of you,
Yeah.
you know, look at how beautifully your kids have been brought up. You know,
Yes.
look how, you know, what an amazing businessman your husband has become, you know, it's because of you. And she believed it, right? She would be so secure within herself that if she found another woman who, let's say, found her happiness in working, right? Because she just thought that she would be a better mother or a
Right.
better wife if she was working because that helps her find her identity. This homemaker woman would be so secure within herself that she would encourage that. You do you,
Yeah.
babe. You do you.
100%.
Right? But the problem in today's society is that this homemaker doesn't get to hear that other perspective, which is you are so great, you know, at being this person. You've embraced this role so well, so beautifully. You're
So
so
true.
happy inside and out, and your family's so happy, and all of that. She doesn't hear that.
Right.
As a result, she's insecure.
Yes.
So when she meets this other woman, she makes her insecure by saying, "Oh yeah, oh you have that issue. Your kids have that issue. Yeah, it's because you don't spend time with them." It's like, how do you know what time you know what I mean? And then this woman feels insecure. If she's insecure, then she makes the other woman who's different from her insecure. We are all different. The Lord, the Almighty, the Big Bang Theory, whatever you believe in,
Yeah.
has all made us differently. No, none of us, none of these fingers are the same. No human being is the same.
True.
Right? We are born with our genetics. We're born with our generational trauma. We've got our cultures, our upbringing,
Yeah.
our nurturing, right? And as a result, we're all very different.
Mm-hmm.
And only if we start to look at each other in a personalized way, you
Correct.
are different to me, and I respect the way you are, and things that give you happiness may not give me happiness, and vice versa, and just accept it.
But we're not taught to be different. We're taught to be the same.
Yeah.
We're taught to all follow the same rules, follow the same narrative. We're all taught to dress the same, dye our hair the same, wear the same makeup, wear the same lipstick, wear the same aesthetic. I was just speaking on a podcast today and I was saying that what really upsets me is that we see everyone falling into the same trends and we all have that. How many people have the same phone case?
Yeah.
How many people now wear glasses because glasses are a trend now? How many people are wearing, like, I don't know, the same look? Because we all want to be the same. This is why influencing works, because people want to be that influencer. They want to be selling out that product.
Yeah.
So we all are becoming the same.
Yeah.
And it's because so many of us don't even know who we are.
Yeah.
So we're rather be with someone else and be part of a clan than be individual and be who we are.
Yeah. But see, this is where I think like influencers, I think the new age influencers, I think have an important role to play. People criticize them, you know, oh yeah, like I don't want to like, you know, post for money because it's not good. I actually think that they have an important role to play. You know, if you now come out and you talk about subjects like this, right? The kind of things you're talking about,
Right.
which is just be open-minded to somebody else's point of view. You know, what rules apply to you may not apply to them. What makes you
Right.
happy. You know, I think, and let's say you have a big following, which you do, right? Suddenly, you're changing someone's mind to think differently. You're helping.
course,
You're creating a better
100%.
world. That, for me, is the beauty of social media.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, I think if someone handed you like a box of, I don't know, McVitie's, whatever, refined flour, this, that, I don't think you'd want to show your audience, hey, look at me, like munching on these all day long. You might be doing that in
Do
your
that sometimes. No, look, I love a good rich tea.
Yeah.
It's my favorite biscuit. I also love a good McVitie's chocolate digestive. I don't eat it every day.
Yeah.
No. And I think it's about having that balance and about understanding what you want from your life. I don't think I would be someone that would be happy if I was like, I'm never going to eat anything refined, sugar-free or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's like depressing to live your life so restrictive. But you know, this is something that you taught me as well. It's just like eat healthier snacks. So like now, for example, I will have baked crisps if I want to eat crisps. I eat mushroom crisps, which I love. The other thing is I no longer eat sweets, right? And I'm like, I love sweets. But now I basically get grapes, I put them in the freezer, and I have that as my sweet treat. And like, I won't also have frozen grapes every single day, but if I want to make sweet, I'll have that. Or, you know, I'll have freeze-dried fruits. So it's like very healthy, but it's still very, very sweet. It's not like you can eat that all day long. I think it's about like, you know, right now we're in this age of snacking on junk food or like eating really, really healthy. There's like no in between.
Yeah.
It's,
I think
it's
life
about
is a
finding the in
balance.
between.
I think life is a balance. I mean,
For sure.
you know, we're sitting in this restaurant. You know, you come in here, you want to order a cocktail, you want to have a meal. It's all about a balance.
For sure.
You know, it's an 80-20 rule as well, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, you're investing in yourself, in your healthcare. You want to live longer. You want to be open-minded. You want to be
100%.
happier. You know, for all of that, you have to look after your gut microbiome.
You do,
right? Good
yeah.
food, good mood is a real
Yeah,
thing.
100%.
Like
I
was on a
100% agree.
Exactly, and you would have felt it yourself, right?
Oh my God, massively. I mean, I want to talk about one part of my journey, which I don't think a lot of people know. I haven't been as explicit about it. When I was managing the podcast and my full-time job. So I started the podcast. It grew very slowly, by the way. I think this is what people don't know about me. Everyone's like, oh my God, you grew overnight. Yeah, I did literally grow overnight, but I did 2.5 years before when nobody was watching.
Right.
But I started the podcast and I would basically start and then I would do 6 months off. And then I would do another season, I'd do 9 months off because I had my job. I also wasn't like an expert at this. I didn't know what I was doing. I've never paid for a course. I've never done anything like that. So I was just learning on the go, and that takes time.
Yeah.
Plus, I also want to talk about like when you're starting a business, there's also other things that are going on. Like we had lots of illnesses in the family, a death in the family. You can't be pushing yourself out online at the beginning when you're just starting out, when you've got all that stuff going on as well. It seems very insensitive. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Right now, if something happened, you know, I have a platform, so I don't think it would feel as insensitive. But imagine, you know, when you're just starting out, people are like, what are you doing? You know, it seems a bit funny.
Yeah.
And it also was a very difficult time. There was lots of stuff going on. But there was a point where my platform grew very, very quickly because of a video that I did about don't ask me when you're getting married. But it seemed to just resonate with millions of people around the world. And at that time, throughout this period, I was basically really honing in on the podcast. As in, I was working like a lunatic on it. I was like researching, editing, recording the thumbnails, the captions, reaching out to the guests. I was really, really, really 100% focused on it. And because I had my job at the same time, it meant I was barely sleeping, and it meant I was running a lot on coffee. It meant that the meals I was eating was like a packet of crisps and a chocolate bar for lunch. It was like I didn't care about food. I lost so much weight. I became so unwell, like so much weight. And it was a point where it was on the day I quit my job. I was really, really happy. It was my 4th coffee of the day. And as I quit my job and I was going home, I was like, I feel so unwell. Like something is not right. I got home, I was like, I need to sleep. Imagine I've just quit my job. I should be so happy that I'm quitting my job to do this, like the dream that I had. I never set out to do this as my full-time job, right? That's why there's no strategy here. That's why there's no like one theme, or there's no color scheme, or there's no fonts. Like I just did this on the whim. And so I remember when I got home and I said and I had to go to my friend's like Mendy night that evening. And I said, I need to go to sleep. I don't feel well. It's 4 o'clock. I woke up at 6. I got ready. I got there and I was like, something is wrong. And I actually thought I was going to collapse. I had my period for 6 months. And I weighed, I'm not actually going to say it because people will be like, whatever, but I weighed much less than 50 kilograms, like much less. And I was so unwell. And I went to the doctor multiple times and I was like, something is wrong with me. Because when you're so underweight, you shouldn't have your period for that long, right?
Yeah.
But I was kept going to the doctor. I was like, something's wrong, something's wrong. And they were just like, maybe it's your stress level. And I was like, no, just like, tell me what is it?
Yeah.
And very slowly I had to learn the art of like letting go of like not working like this lunatic. Then it became the pressure though of like, I quit my job, right? So now I have to like excel because I now have these 8 hours in the day where I have to fill it. So I didn't then take it. So it was a very hard period that time. And it took a really big toll on my health. And I almost had to get to a place where I would just completely burn out. And I had to, because there was no learning for me. I didn't care. I was just like, I don't care. Just let me do my work. And now I'm in a very different place. I'll never go back to that place again. Because it was so like traumatizing for your body. Right? And everyone also reacts differently to stress.
Yeah.
With me, when I'm stressed out, I lose so much weight. If I don't go to the gym, I lose weight. So if I'm not there on a Saturday and Sunday, by the way, on the weekend, and I'm not doing that with my partner, because we do it together.
Oh, that's nice.
Which is like the best thing, is number one, it makes him feel frustrated because he doesn't go without me. It makes me feel frustrated because I never go to the gym now in the week. I only walk. And what was happening is sometimes I would just have this built up of this energy, right? And he'd be like, have you gone to the gym this week? And I'd be like, no, I haven't. And he'd be like, we're going for a run. After the run, I feel so much better. And you don't realize how much exercise and letting out that energy and boxing and punching out that anger releases it from you.
Yeah.
Right? This journey is lonely.
Yeah.
I don't have a massive team that I come in every day and discuss things and ideas with. So I get stressed out, I get worked up. And where is that energy in my body then being released at? Where am I releasing it? I'm not.
Yeah.
And so exercise is such a big thing for me now.
Yeah.
And I learned that from that period is like I wasn't exercising. So it really had an impact on my mental health. When I had a big impact on my mental health, I had a real big impact on my body. When I had a big impact on my body, it went back to having a bad impact on my mental health. And it was a loop.
Yeah.
And it's like really, really, really key to maintain that. It's the same in the summer. I went to a retreat in Bodrum called Life Co. And for 7 days, all I had was no refined sugar, no carbs. I still was having 3 meals a day, but I have never felt better when I left there. And I haven't touched coffee since. I'm like, I'm not touching it. I gave it up. And I was having 4 or 5 coffees a day, by the way. And after that, I was like, I'm not putting rubbish in my body. I mean, I still have matcha and I still have tea. So I have caffeine in those ways. But,
Much less so.
But I mean, like, you know, just that week of not having it. And I was sleeping, by the way, for the 3 days I was there. I was just like completely zonked out. My body needed it. But I was so reliant on caffeine, so reliant on junk food. And it's killing us. It's so bad for us.
Yeah.
And there's now so many alternatives.
Yeah.
I mean, why would we eat that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless
It's
you
so
have to.
interesting. No, but I think you're right. I mean, this is partly why I started Foodhak, right? Because what I was finding at SoftBank is that, you know, I think there is a wave. People are talking about this stuff because I think your work, no one can get to, and we're going to talk about your next step, your goal setting and all that stuff. But no one can get there without looking after themselves. It's a whole package deal, right?
100%.
Like self-care, wellness, exercise, sleep, meditation, nutrition. It's a whole package deal.
100%. You
right?
can, but you'll burn out.
Exactly.
And it's the worst feeling to be in that position.
Exactly.
And
that's
slow
why,
down.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons. So I started Foodhak because I felt that like someone needs to also surround you with a choice. Which is tasty, it's crunchy, it's salty, it's sweet, like it does the job.
Yes.
You know, it hits all those flavors, the textures that you want from a snack or food, right?
Yes.
But it's cleverly stripped out the bad stuff, put in the good stuff, like you've seen. Like
your katsu is the best.
The curry.
It is so good.
You know,
I would eat that every day.
Coconut milk generally is supposed to be very high in fats, but we've managed to somehow cut it down to a level where it's still creamy, it still gives you that same katsu feeling, but it's low in fats. It's just putting a little bit of intelligence and love into that food, right?
Yeah.
Which we lack. We don't put intelligence into it. Our chefs are taught, you know, if flavors are missing, toss in more butter,
or
toss in
oil,
more sugar, toss in the salt.
So true.
You know, this whole drama around food. Actually, there is a lot of intelligence behind it. Anyway, too much about this, but
we should have done a little tester while you should do this on your podcast here. You should have little testers of food.
Yeah.
And you
Maybe we'll
eat
do
while
that.
you talk.
Yeah, but I think like for me, honestly, I had a similar story, but mine was
Right.
more linked with nutrition.
Okay.
So I actually reversed a liver illness, even though doctors said it can't be done.
No way.
Yeah.
What was your liver illness?
So it was pregnancy related. It's called obstetric cholestasis. It could
Oh,
have
shivers.
resulted in a stillbirth, you know. And the doctors were like, nothing can be done. I just didn't take no for an answer because I have a healthcare background. I just read clinical research, changed my food, managed to reverse it. So I kind of experienced the power of food as medicine, right? The way you experience the power of, you know, wellness and mental health.
Oh my God.
Exactly. So that's kind of how I started the business as well, where I was like, I think more and more people must be suffering, and not everybody has the same, you know, background as me who can just delve into this intimidating world of clinical research. And it's quite noisy as well for obvious reasons. The large companies, large taxpayers, you know, they end up biasing the data. So you have to be on it, which is where we use now technology, the app, and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But, you know, I think that's the point where I think more and more people like us who are like, you know what, we're going to take a pair of scissors, we're going to break the rules, and we're going to create our own new set of rules which are better for you, maybe better for the planet, but at least better for you.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of what you're doing with your next step, which is very exciting. Tell me about this goal setting workshop. And actually, before you get there,
Yeah.
I'm very curious. You ended your last bit saying that,
Yeah.
you know, it's a loop and it's burnout.
Right.
Right? And I really feel that many people suffer from that. And, you know, the lucky ones are aware that they're heading towards burnout. But even when they're aware, they're not able to like do everything. They might be able to do 2 out of the 3, 4, 5 things, but they're not able to do everything to be able to avoid that situation altogether. So, like, how do you stop it? What can you do to prevent this chronic burnout
Right.
in modern societies and tier one hectic cities like London, New York, Delhi, whatever, you know?
We're obsessed with being in a rush.
Yeah.
We're obsessed with hitting that milestone. We're obsessed with getting there before everyone else. We're obsessed with growing astronomically on social media, for getting that award, for getting the blue tick, for getting that. I still don't have a blue tick and I don't care. I still haven't been impressed and I don't care. I still haven't got an award for my podcast and I don't care. Because it's all going to come.
Yeah.
I'm not in this rush. And we're all obsessed with getting it right here and right now.
Yeah.
And that's why we're burning out. Because we're like seeing someone else online thinking, well, they've done this and they've done that, so I need to do it right now. And let me work like a psychopath and get it. It's not going to happen. These things don't come like this. And we expect them now to come like this. And to be honest, you can get a lot of these things if you pay for them.
Yeah.
You can pay for a blue tick now.
Yeah.
You can pay to be in press. You can pay for PR. You can pay to go on lots of shows. And I think this is also the problem. It's because lots of people are taking the shortcut route. Other people are thinking like it's come quickly for them.
Yeah.
And if I work like a psychopath, it's going to come quickly for me. The number one way to avoid burnout is to manage your time. And the way that you manage your time is you're realistic about where you are spending your time. So if I said to you right now, tell me your goals for next year. Let's just pick one. Let's just use you as an example. What would be your goal for next year?
International expansion.
Okay, what does that mean?
Launching our products and the mobile app in international markets starting from the Middle East.
Okay, so let's not go specifics, but let's just say what would your process for doing that? So you have a goal, you'd break it down, right? And then what would you do?
Execute.
Right, but how would you execute that with the time that you have? Would you time block? Would you?
I would, okay, number one, rally the troops,
Yeah.
right? The team,
Yeah.
you know?
Share the responsibilities. Yeah.
Create Gantt charts on Excel.
Yeah.
You know, this is the breakdown, tick, tick, tick,
Right.
done, you know, on a week kind of basis.
Yeah.
Set up a weekly call
Yeah.
to discuss that project and discuss which ones are ticked off, what's
Yeah.
the next step,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
But
the
personally for you, when you have tasks and you put them in your diary, do you just time block your work?
I am so bad at planning, you don't even understand.
Really?
Like, you don't even understand. Everything is here.
Okay, I need to help you.
Yeah. Like, I need crazy amount of help. So I live my life by my calendar.
Right. Okay. This is a good thing. Okay. So
Yeah.
what's in your calendar? Just your work stuff, yeah?
No, like
Okay.
my kids stuff, my work stuff. I don't do time blocks because I'm not good at that, because I've got multiple businesses, and I keep getting pulled in them. And so whatever spare time I have to, especially in between meetings, I have to leave that space. When I get pulled into fires and emergencies,
Right.
I need to have that buffer.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, it's a problem because then when I don't time block and I need to, then I end up getting frustrated with people and I snap at them and I'm like, nobody can do anything without me. Leave me alone for 1 hour, people. No,
This is so funny.
but it's not great, right?
Yeah.
Because I need
So
to be.
So it's interesting. You said that you live by your calendar.
Yeah.
On your calendar, you have stuff for like your work and then you have for your kids. But what people miss on there, right, is they need to do their laundry.
Yeah.
They need to do their washing. And so what's happening, right, is let's just say someone in your team, let's say you've got a girl called Anna. Anna's like, I work for you from 9 to 5, yeah? And now you've given me this, and now Anna's got this photography course, let's just say, right? And she's like, I work for Sakshi 9 to 5, and then basically I've got the whole evening to do my photography course. No, you haven't. You've got to make time for your dinner. You've got to make time to wash up. You've got to take time to wash your clothes. You've got to make time. Have you scheduled the time to call your mum? Have you made the time to get your Christmas presents in? So people, what they do is they say, I'm going to achieve this by the end of this week because I've got 4 hours at the end of every day. And what do they only have? 1 hour. So at the end of the week, what do? They only achieve 20% of their goal. So what do they think? I'm not good enough. I'm rubbish at what I'm doing. What's the point? I'm not moving fast enough. I'm so slow. I'm the problem. No, the system is the problem.
Yeah.
The way that you've scheduled your time is the problem. That's why we're burning out.
Yeah.
And that's why people are feeling more and more depressed by their skills, why people are feeling more worthless, why people are feeling less valued, is they're not actually looking at the way in which they set their goals. They're looking at the outcome. Right?
Yeah.
And so often we don't make time for all these other things.
Yeah. And I also think it's become particularly bad after COVID because
Right.
during COVID, I feel that people were not traveling, so they were saving on travel time.
Right.
They all took on another job, a hobby, a photography course.
Yes.
Having 2 jobs kind of became the norm.
100%.
Which is
Not
actually,
normal. Yeah.
first of all, like your full-time employment contract, you're in breach of that.
Yeah.
Right? People were like, who cares?
Yeah. No one cares. Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah, you're right.
And so having 2 jobs, 2 things just became, this
So
is
true.
the normal way of look. Now we are in a post-COVID world. And I think there is that little bit of like, I was held hostage in my home for 3 years. I want to be out and about and experiences and go have a drink with my friend or a coffee or a walk or a whatever or a master class, a cooking class, whatever. Right? But then you still have that 2 job, 2 gig hangover.
100%.
So there is, another bit of that extra
100%.
pressure. Oh, but I used to have this extra income because I wasn't traveling and I had this other little job that I took
on the side.
side. I was being a social media manager for somebody, remote work because everybody wanted remote work. Where's that income? So I think this COVID situation hasn't helped because it was an artificial world,
It's true.
right? But I think this is a really good segue into goal setting, right? Because I think I gave you the worst answers for your questions, which is like, what are your goals for next year? Forget all this international expansion, this, that.
Right.
What are my goals for next year? For myself.
Right.
Right?
And in your calendar, so when you're looking at your week, you said you want us to go like to the gym twice in the morning. Where is that in your calendar?
Yeah.
If you schedule your goals, and this is why I talk about 5 areas of your life on my content. I talk about your career, your health, right? And that's mental health and physical health. I talk about your relationships. I talk about personal development and your hobbies, right? And growing up, the reason why I talk about those 5 areas is because growing up, I believe you just have to focus on 2, career and relationships. That's not true. I said at the start of this episode is the reason I was feeling so unfulfilled is like, I didn't do anything for my personal development. I didn't have any hobbies of mine. What do you do for just you? What do you do for fun? What do you do to just be yourself and not worry about, is this going to expand? Is this going to grow? Am I going to be the best in this? So many of us are lacking that and we're not free. And so all of my content is focused on these 5 areas of life. So when I'm going to events, I use that as my hobbies. I enjoy going to events to learning about skincare. I enjoy going to restaurants to eat food. But it's a hobby of mine, right? The rest of my calendar every single week will have something for these 5 areas. And we need to make sure we're marking all of these 5 areas in our life. It can't just be our career. Because then when are you going to make time for your relationships? And if you don't have time for your relationships, what is the point of doing this career? if you can't celebrate it with someone?
Yeah.
What
And
is
you
the
know, it's
purpose?
actually, do you know what one of the keys of longevity? I mean, you've seen blue zones, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
everyone's seen blue zones. One of the keys to longevity is, as they say in India, in Ayurveda, Sangha, or they say
Mm,
community.
right.
Yeah, it's community, which is relationships. Happiness is
Yes.
anti-inflammatory.
Yes.
You
Love
know?
that.
Yeah, you forget all this.
Mm,
So longevity isn't just about, nutrition. There's nutrition, there's sleep, there's meditation, there's exercise, there's happiness, there's a
Yeah.
community.
yeah.
So relationships come in there.
So true.
But growing up, you know, tell us again those 5 areas. So there's
So the
career.
first is your health.
Okay.
Up before everything, because without your health you can't have anything.
Yeah.
Then I would say your second is your relationships, and then your third is your career, and then I would say personal development and hobbies. It's so important to do things for you,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm so bad at tennis, but I really enjoy playing it. I feel so happy. Same with your hobbies. What do you do? I mean, for your personal development, I love reading. I love listening to a podcast.
I think you've just signed up a client for your goal setting course in Jan. I'm coming.
You must.
This
It's
is
so
crazy.
important. And
Yes.
when you look at your calendar, and I always tell people to do this, look at your calendar and tell me, have you got something for all of those 5 areas? No.
No.
You just have for your career,
Yeah.
right? What are you doing for you? What do you do for you every single week?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it used to be self-care because I used
What
to
is
think making a bath, lighting a
Right.
candle, the music, the scent,
So you've got 4 businesses.
Salts.
What is the point of that if you can't have a 1-hour bath every week?
and even that slipped. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you schedule it in your calendar, that's the time for it.
Mm,
If you sit on a Sunday and you schedule it,
Yeah.
that's how you do it.
I like that. I'd never schedule it in. I used to do it every Sunday after
Right.
I put the kids to bed, 7:30,
What stops
and
you
I
now,
would make
though?
it
So this is the
Yeah.
other thing that people don't
Exhaustion.
talk about.
exhaustion. So you end up swapping it, right? Like, oh, I'm exhausted. I just want to get into bed.
Do you
You
get
know.
into bed at 7:30 though on a Sunday?
Sometimes
Oh, you do. Okay.
No, I am exhausted. It's a lot.
Really?
It's a lot. Like, constantly being switched on.
Yeah.
Also, this last quarter of the year, and I've seen a trend with myself. The last quarter of the year, you're exhausted because I've been going. I don't take any vacations. You don't take any real vacations. Like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe you go away in the summer for like a couple of days, but even then you're switched on because you're like, okay, let me just clear up some emails, in the 4 days you're away, like, in the year. Every time you're traveling, you're kind of working, you're switched on because you're like, oh, how would I launch this market? How would
Of
I launch that
course.
market? Packaging, research, when you have a business like mine. Now we're December, right? I've been doing this, I've been running, and it's not like I'm not jogging, I'm sprinting.
Yeah.
And I've been sprinting now for 11 months. So I also know my own trend. Like
Yeah.
my mental health at this point struggles. It's hard to feel happy and motivated and, exhaustion, like looking at these numbers, like losing your temper, like crankiness, like, all of that. And I know it's nothing but exhaustion.
Mm.
So that's where like my
So
self-care.
why don't you stop? Why don't you pause?
The fear of exactly what you said, right? Which is like, I want this because so and so has it, and because we have to hit the numbers, and because why? Because this is how businesses grow. You have to be
Mhm.
4x year on year in terms of revenue. Your cash burn has to cut into half, and because
But who told us this?
this is what you grew up learning. There is no
Right.
other way of business because how would you raise money? How would the investors like it? Would they like to see a gap if your revenues don't grow month on month?
Right.
Who's going to explain the gap? What happened? Will I say, oh my God, it's because I was exhausted and because I was looking after my mental health? Which investor is going to care?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's this, you're right, it's like a fake pressure, that these fake KPIs. When I used to be an investor, I used to find it so irritating when my associates would like sit there and ask like a scripted bunch of, okay, what's your cash burn? What's
Yeah.
your month-on-month growth? What are your daily active users? And I'm like,
Yeah.
doesn't even apply to this business.
Right.
Monkey see, monkey do.
So true. But this is the thing, is that like so many of us just keep jumping to the next thing and think, I'll cope. I'll cope. I'll cope. Are you coping now? Right?
Yeah,
What is
barely.
the most important thing for you? And you don't have to answer this here, but it's like, what am I doing it for? And the other day, Nicola and I, it's my fiance, we were walking and we saw these people having coffee on a Friday, and it was like a Monday, sorry, at like 11 o'clock. And we were walking and he was like, oh my God, like, you know, does no one have a job? And I was like, don't you forget, this is the goal. Never forget that that is the goal. To be able on a Monday, to be able to go and sit and have a coffee because everything is okay. That's my goal, you know? And I said that to him. I was like, we are taught to believe if you're sitting having a coffee on a Monday, you're lazy. No, you're not. You just got your shit together. That your business is running. And you can have a coffee on a Monday and sit outside. I would love to do that. I can't do that right now. I'm building. But that's a goal for me. It's not the goal for me isn't to work like this for the next 20 years of my life.
I think you're onto something because I feel that people who talk, like who cover subjects like this today, are like, you know, basically doing this for like the top CEOs of these trillion-dollar companies,
Right.
you know, who've like made it in life, who are like 50, 60, 70 years old, you know, because they can now be in a position to be open to these
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah.
And then they were like, you know, looking back in life and saying, gosh, you know, there's a different way of doing this,
Literally.
right? And I feel like you doing this at this age, you know, with the new sort of CEOs up and coming, like people like me, I think this is what I need.
Oh,
I think this is what we need,
thank
you know, because otherwise life just goes by, you know. And we talk about, like at Foodhak, we have this wellness longevity platform that we want to build. It's our mission, it's our vision to help you live better and to help the planet, right? And we talk about anti-inflammatory so much when it comes
Right.
to nutrition. But like I just said, when you're stressed,
Mm.
you're inflamed.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're not managing yourself, there's no self-love, there's no discipline, there's no goal setting, as you said.
So true.
It's inflammatory,
Yeah, literally.
right? So I think that's so interesting. So tell me more, how does this workshop work? Because now
Yeah.
I'm like interested for myself.
Yes, of course. So I believe that whatever goal it is that you want to achieve, I can 100% guarantee you a plan to get there. I can't guarantee you're going to achieve it because I'm not a scam artist saying like, oh, if you follow this, you're going to achieve it. I can't. I'm not you. But I can guarantee you a way to do it. So the way in which that you do it is you have a goal, right?
Yeah.
So yours is, let's say, to grow internationally next year. The first step would be to identify all the steps you need to take to grow that, right? And there might be hundreds and thousands. So in your case, you would identify, let's say, like 35 steps. Then you would say, okay, well, how long is each task going to take me, right? Also, in your case, you'd be like, who is going to manage these tasks? Who am I going to delegate to? These are the tasks. These are the people that are managing it. This is the time it's going to take. Great. So now we have the total time. Let's say the total time is 25 hours. Yeah? Now we look at exactly what is going to stop us from getting there. What are the hurdles? And this is the step that people miss. If I'm saying to you, Sakshi, you need to go from here to there, okay?
Yeah.
You're going to look on the road and see, where can I trip? If you don't look at where you're going to trip, you're going to trip unexpectedly.
Yes.
So you've got to identify what are the hurdles, what are the blockers, what are the distractions. Because you can write down all the steps that you want. You can time block all you want. But if self-confidence is the thing that's stopping you, that's not going to change if you time block your time.
Yeah.
You need to unlock why you're not feeling confident. You need to overcome that first before you go and take that step.
Yeah.
So we identify your goal, we break it all down, and then identify exactly what's been stopping you. We then figure out a plan how you overcome that. Right? I'm telling you all my secrets here.
That's amazing.
And then we start to figure out when you're going to do it. So what time do you wake up? What time do you want to go to sleep? What are the non-negotiables in your day? So if you've got a 9 to 5 job, block that time out. If you've got to prepare dinner, block that time out. If you've got to clean up after dinner, block that time out. With those gaps, put those tasks in those gaps. There's your roadmap. Not, I must do this by the end of the week because I don't have no idea what I'm going to do. It's not going to work like that. There's a difference between process goals and outcome goals. Process is, for example, let's say my goal is to grow on Instagram by, I don't know, 1 million followers. Process is, I'm going to be uploading 3 times a day, 1 reel, 1 post, 1 story, let's just say. Outcome goal is, I want to hit 200K by the end of this year, 300K, whatever it is. But the process goal is what you really need to focus on because that's what you're going to be doing every single day.
Yeah.
So in the workshop, we cover my formula, but there's lots of other things that I do in that as well. We do lots of live activities. I do live coaching. So let's say you're like, Shivani, I'm struggling with this. I coach you right there and then on how you overcome it. And we spend the entire day together. This is the first time I'm doing an entire day on a Saturday. And you get to network and build communities with all of these people, right? All of these people are there to learn from you.
Yeah.
and we're all in the same boat. Me and you are no different. We're on the same journey. Me and Bradley Pitt are no different. Brad Pitt are no different. Like there's no difference between you and the person that you admire. By the way, there's zero difference. They have just got there faster than you. There's no difference. They weren't born with some kind of magical superpower. Everyone is the same, in my opinion. It's just some people go after their goals and some people don't.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's down to a system and a process that you implement.
I love this. I really, really think that this is what this new generation of entrepreneurs need, because I think you're right. I don't think you should feel proud in saying, I barely sleep. I sleep 5 hours a day. I don't need sleep. I'm fine.
Right.
Or, I eat shit because I don't have any time to eat,
Yeah.
because I don't need to eat. Like, whatever. I just need to
Yeah.
keep going. Or, I don't have time for a partner. I don't have time for a relationship. What friends? I don't have time. Like,
Right.
I don't
People who are
think
obsessed with saying, like, I didn't go out with my friends. It's
Yeah.
like, that's sad.
you shouldn't. Yeah.
That's sad if you never see your friends. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying I see my friends every week. I don't.
Yeah.
We see, there's like 8 of us in a group, so we see each other like once a month or once every
Yeah.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's something I'm proud of. I'm like, I want to have more time for them. But I also prioritize time for myself. Like, Nicola was away over the weekend. I just spent the whole weekend by myself and I flipping loved it. I never get time to just be with me. But I'm also very, very aware that then in 2 years' time, I'll probably have kids. And I'm never, in the next like 25 years, going to get this time to myself where I don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Like, I literally went for a massage and then I went to go get a matcha and then my phone died. So I just went for a walk and I didn't have to tell anyone.
Wow.
But when you have kids, you can't do that.
You
Like,
can't
when
do
you have a
that.
husband, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, he was on holiday, so it was okay. And he was sleeping in Australia. Otherwise, and it's not that like he's restrictive or your kids are restrictive or your partner can't look after your kids. It's just like you have a responsibility. And like we need to encourage people to enjoy their life with no responsibility while they can.
Absolutely.
Like be free.
Yeah. I think this like there is this toxic culture, where you have to be busy.
All the
You have
time.
to be busy.
Yeah.
If you're not busy,
You're a loser.
you're a loser.
Yeah.
Because you've got nothing to do.
Yeah. And wouldn't you want to do this for another like 50 years, but like enjoy it?
Yeah.
Instead of coming to tell me like, oh my God, I'm so tired, I'm so stressed.
Yeah.
Isn't your life to enjoy? Didn't you start this business
Yeah.
to enjoy? You know? And I think so often we lose that. And it's so normal. Even for me, sometimes I have to stop and be like, hold on. I did this so I could enjoy my day, not so I could be like running from here to here to here to here. I did that. I uploaded a story today. I was sprinting with heatless colors in my hair because I got so engrossed in my editing this morning that by the time I left the house, I didn't do it. And I've got to upload the podcast for tomorrow, so I've got to get home and rush today. It's also, there's so many things going on. But, so often we just need to take that step and be like, what is important to me? Why am I doing it? It is not a race. I'm 31. I'm not 95.
Yeah, I think what am I doing it for? No, there is a mission. Like I genuinely feel that everyone should have access to what I had.
Right.
That knowledge
Yeah.
of food is medicine. Like how can
Right.
you help? When you were ill, what could you do to help yourself?
Yes.
Right? That's why you have this free app, the Foodhak app
Yeah.
on these app stores.
So great.
For those people who can't afford to buy food products, I get it. Right? But now you have an app
Yeah.
and there's a Foodhak assistant. I'm gonna
So
soon
great.
Call it something I shouldn't really hear, but you can chat with it.
Right.
Hey, like I'm super unwell. I've had my period for 6 months nonstop. Like
Right.
I'm losing a lot of weight. What should I do? And suddenly it gives you, a whole bunch of things you can do. Right now, whether or not you follow it, that's on you.
Yeah.
But at least now you have it,
An option. Yeah.
an option
Yeah.
in your, and I think you asked me, what am I doing it for? Genuinely, the mission. There is a mission in this company because honestly, being a startup entrepreneur sucks.
Yeah. It's so hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to have a very strong mission because
Yeah.
without that, I just don't know how you would survive.
Yeah.
And I feel like my mission is to help people with their health, to give them the power of healthcare in their hands rather than having it in the hands of the NHS or
Yeah.
large companies or like pills are not the answer,
No.
So giving you the power of your healthcare in your hands through this platform of wellness. And that really drives me. Making the planet a better place really drives me. So there is a mission to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what makes me happy is my family.
Yeah.
Or like a testimonial where someone like an emotional message where it's just like, thank you so much
Yeah.
for this. That I live for,
Yeah. I love that. So powerful.
So it's funny you say that because I don't know, a whole year's gone by and I haven't asked myself, or like it's so hard to like stop in the middle of this busy life. What are you doing it for? And that picture pops up, right? So I think this workshop is going to be really. I'm going to do it.
I'm so excited
Whether
for
or
you
not
to
I'm
come.
busy or not on the 11th, I'm going to do it. I'm going to sign up for it
Yeah.
because I think this is the future.
I love it.
I think entrepreneurs need it. No, seriously. I know, like, all of my entrepreneurial friends, if I make you hear my voice messages, everybody's on the verge of a breakdown.
Really.
You know, and they send me these, like, I don't know if you feel like this, but like, this is what's happened. I'm just so exhausted. And everyone's like crying out for help,
Yeah.
for health and for help, right? To each other. Like this entrepreneurial community,
Right.
this little community I've built through this journey of
Yeah.
podcasting, right? And it's just nice to have each other where
Of course.
you can really feel her pain or his pain because I went
We're
through
all
it
going
last
through the
month.
same thing.
But I think these workshops are really going to help. I really think you should target the entrepreneurial community.
Oh,
We'll do it together.
I would love that.
But this is what I meant by an expert series.
Oh,
Is that this is really a value add.
Thank you.
For this crazy toxic culture that we have in these busy cities where it's like keep going till you collapse.
Yeah, literally. We're obsessed with getting things in a rush, and I think it's about the longevity. And it's about being okay with that.
Yeah.
People always say to me, I remember, like, oh, why haven't you got your blue tick yet? I'm like, we can buy it.
Part of your goals. Yeah.
Yeah, I can buy it. But, like, who am I lying to? Me. I'm lying to myself. And I think, like, we've got to ask ourselves that, who are you doing this for? Because if you're doing it for yourself, you don't need to worry about what it looks like on the outside. You need to focus what it is like on the inside.
Yeah.
And I think that's unfortunately what society has become, a show.
Yeah.
So
that's so true.
Yeah.
I think more of us like need this.
Yeah. I'm so glad you found it helpful.
Thank you for coming on the
My
podcast.
pleasure.
This was amazing. I
loved it.
The reason why I also secretly love these podcasts is because after every episode, like I'm blown away by the content. And I always have something to take back with me. I feel inspired. And I feel like I have an action plan. Yeah. This was so refreshing.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Hack It. I hope you enjoyed the insights and stories that we shared today. Are you hungry for more? Follow us on Instagram at The Foodhak. That's a hack without a C. Or subscribe now to be the first to hear about our next episode when it drops. See you next time.